Hi everyone, we're back talking about the pillars of Islam. Um, so this is probably one of the most important things that involves understanding Islam is these pillars. Muslims believe in five duties, these five pillars of Islam. And just as the pillars of a building help support the roof, so do these pillars support their belief in their religion. So we're going to walk through these. You don't need to necessarily know uh, the terminology of the Arabic word, but just to know what they are. That is the most important. Um, so the first is the declaration of faith. That there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet and messenger. It's like a creed that's professed and internalized, and it is the kind of the most important part of that. Catholics believe when they begin and end every prayer that they make the sign of the cross in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. That is their mantra that they use to that the heart and soul of what they believe in that Trinity of Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit. And so it's much the same thing. For Jews, that might be um, uh, the um, the Shema. Sorry, the Shema is the great that there is only one God, and that is Yahweh, and He is God alone. And that is so we each have this central belief core structure. So that's their declaration of faith. They believe that there's no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his prophet. Those are the most important parts of their faith. The next part of the next pillar is their issue of prayer. Um, Muslim is required to pray at least 5 times a day, and this would be at dawn, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset, and before bed. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, you face the Kaaba in Mecca. So that for us, that would be east. And then at that time, in a mosque or whatever, a caller would go up with and he would chant out the call for Muslims to pray. Um, And so most Islamic neighborhoods have a mosque, which means place of kneeling. And in order, you see the picture here, the process of actually prostrating yourself on your knees to bend and to pray and to do this 5 times a day. I consider myself a pretty good Christian, but as far as the level of prayer that Muslims do compared to what I do, they've got me beat every time, right? So there's much respect here. I think has to be given to Muslims for their level of commitment to prayer. Now, on Fridays, they will join together at the mosque for a special kind of community worship. In those sessions, the religious leader, the imam, uh, recites from the Quran and will give a sermon as they pray. So that's their religious structure. Now, a couple other pillars here we have is first of all almsgiving. Each Muslim is required to give a part of their income to the poor. Now they call each other out about it. It's not like you hide it in an envelope or a basket and nobody knows what you're giving. Families are called to give significant sums, not simply just a few pennies here or there. I mean, you give what you can, and it's not necessarily told what you should be give, but there is communal pressure on that. The next pillar of Islam is fasting. Muslims fast during the holy month of Ramadan, um, and this was celebrated as the month where the Quran was revealed to Muhammad. And the exact dates of Ramadan change every year, and so because Islam uses a calendar based on the cycles of the moon. And during Ramadan, adult Muslims don't eat or drink during the daylight hours. No sexual activity during the times of fasting, not even a romantic kiss. Activity slows down for the day. People take more time to pray. concentrate on their love and the need for God. And the fasting not only teaches self-discipline, but it makes them more sympathetic toward the poor. Now, during Ramadan, they celebrate the night of power, the night when Muhammad first heard the voice of the angel. And then there is a big old party called Eid al-Fitr, or Eid, that celebrates the end of Ramadan. So for 3 days, families and friends gather to share foods and gifts. It's like a national holiday in Islamic countries. So the fasting is a big part of this commitment as well. It's something that is not done in any other religion. Christianity has the notion of Catholics have the idea of fasting on Fridays in Lent and only eating fish and having one meal and two smaller meals. Well, I mean, that's what people normally have. So this total commitment to fasting that the Muslims do is something that is not done by us or anyone else. And lastly, you have the idea of Hajj, the idea of pilgrimage. This is that this pilgrimage that all Muslims are asked to make one journey to Mecca at one point during their life. Dress in white, the pilgrims perform some rituals, walking around the Kaaba, that black stone, several times, each time kissing the black stone's wall, and then there's a sacrifice, a killing of the sheep, goats, and camels, and the meat is often given to the poor. Now, only Muslims are allowed to enter Mecca, and every year about 2 million Muslims come to Mecca and make that pilgrimage. A couple other things that we want to talk about in regards to the beliefs of Islam. Husbands are asked to be kind to their wives, and wives are asked to be obedient to their husbands. Remember that the idea of Islam is to surrender one's beliefs, to surrender one's um, mental beliefs when it is in conflict with the Quran. And the Quran is never meant to, the idea is to surrender. So it is not meant um, to be contradicted. So if I have my thoughts on a particular issue and the Quran has something that opposes that, I am to take my thoughts, I am to take what I believe about it and suppress it and just submit to the ideas of the Quran. And that's exactly what is done here. And that's why so much of societal Islam in modern day sometimes seems so backward because it is seen in a way of um, of a different way, the old way of doing things, because things don't progress. To progress means to take a new way of doing things, which means not taking the old way. And when you contradict the old way, you are contradicting Muhammad and God Himself.